the Lido deck. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you already know this incredible man, Mr. Gary Powell at the piano. And before we set sail, I am supposed to remind you that the bar is open. And so are the bathrooms. Feel free to go up and grab a drink, whatever you want to do. Now, at your tables, I think, there should be little papers with number 2 pencils from Miss McPherson's homeroom class. Golf class, sorry. If you have any questions about what it's like to work as a crew member, as a singer on a cruise ship, feel free to ask. I may answer it before the act is over, but I will take them all back during our break and have a look at them and maybe hopefully answer some questions for something you didn't know about what it's like to work on a cruise ship. So here we are. What else am I supposed to mention? That's it. All right, so let's set sail. So I've had the wonderful opportunity to travel a lot, even just throughout the country, performing. I've spent a lot of places all over Florida. By the way, I'm from Sarasota. I'm not even from here. Oh, yay! Yes, my Sarasota friends. Now, I've had the chance to work in Orlando, in Miami, in Jacksonville, the Villages. I just finished Marvelous Wonderettes. Who's not Marvelous Wonderettes? Trick question, who was in the Marvelous Wonderettes? Some wonderful castmates. Oh yeah, he was there sometimes, so he kind of helped. So thank you for those who came. Who just saw this in the paper or the radio and said, who's this weird chick talking about cruises? I love it. Oh, thank you. And you other people didn't warn them? Okay, well, I guess we're all here now, so. But yes, so I just finished the run of Marvelous Wonderettes here in the Villages, and it was incredible, and what a wonderful way to spend a summer. And but I've also had the chance to work in Maine and in Missouri. And we got some Missourians. Excellent. I worked in St. Joe. Woo! Is that where you're from? 18 miles south. Good grief. All right. We'll have to talk after. All right. Maybe you saw my one show there. However, as you, I'm sure, are aware, the best thing that I got to do was work on a cruise ship. Now, raise your hand if you have ever traveled on Viking cruises. Okay. Raise your hand if you just like to cruise. There we go. That's the answer I was looking for. So Viking, I'm sure many of you have heard of Viking cruises. They are the top river cruise brand in the world. And in 2015, they started ocean liners. Have you been on the Viking ocean cruises? 3. Who's been on Viking ocean cruises? You don't count, Taylor. Although we do count when I say who's ever cruised the most. It's definitely us. That's wonderful. So yeah, so in 2015, Viking decided to launch ocean liners. They wanted to compete with the big ocean liners like Royal Caribbean and the Oceania and all those. So this wonderful opportunity came around where they were holding auditions in Orlando to be part of this brand new adventure. And I was lucky enough to be cast, and I was on the very first ship, the Viking Star. It was their very first. Were you on the Star? I love it! You were too? I love it. That's great. So yeah, so I was part of the very original cast. Brand new ship, wasn't even out of the shipyard yet. They were still welding it together. So we rehearsed in Orlando for about 2 months, creating these brand new original shows and new cabarets. And it was an incredible experience, and there was 8 of us. So it was a very small little production team, but we put on some wonderful, unique, original shows. Now, you have to get a ton of immunizations. I probably got every shot there is in the record, so I am healthy. You know. But then also had to complete sea school for anyone that ever does any kind of boating or anything like that. You have to learn how to basically be your own paramedic, your own firefighter, because you are it in the middle of the ocean. If there's an accident or an emergency, that you are the person well, not quite. We were probably the least qualified, if I'm being totally honest. We were more there for damage control. We were there to keep people, calm and relaxed. Although that never actually had to happen, thank goodness. So we spent, again, 2 months in there learning different things and creating these wonderful bonds, knowing that we had this incredible adventure on our way. So we packed our bags and we took a plane to Venice, Italy. Left my troubles all behind me, back there when I climbed on board. Jordan River's where you'll find me. It's wide but not too wide to ford. Before another highway wakes me, before another night is gone, I'll find out where this highway takes me. You know I've got to travel on, and as I'm going along, I carry with me promises that can't go wrong. As I travel on, as I travel on my way. Left my troubles all behind me, back there when I climbed on board. Jordan River's where you'll find me. It's wide but not too wide to ford. And as I'm going along, I carry with me promises that can't go wrong. As I travel on, as I travel on my way. Thank you. Wow, okay, so our journey then brought us to Venice, Italy. Who's been to Venice? Did you know this just announced that they have banned cruise ships to go to Venice, Italy, because it's kicking up too much sediment in this ever-sinking city. And it's a beautiful city, but they wanted to preserve it as best they could. And all of those large cruise ships that were coming in were messing too much with the foundation, because it's quite literally being held up by planks of wood. So they needed to do what they could in order to preserve it. So, pardon me. Now, if you've ever been to Venice, you could actually see the shipyard where we were stationed. I'm sorry, I'm an Air Force brat, so I say the word stationed a lot. You could actually see the shipyard where all the ships were, and it was called Megara. It was Port Megara. And when you had to go into the shipyard, it is an active shipyard. Now picture 8 pathetic Americans in the midst of all these Italian shipyard workers with hard hats, steel-toed boots, and gray coveralls, because you had to wear that in the shipyard, because I've never seen larger machinery in my entire life. There were these giant, I don't even know what they were. They probably moved pieces of ships, but they were like 5 stories and maybe as wide as this space, and they would just move independently, and you did not want to cross paths with that. So, but you had to wear these required materials. We had a girl on our show named Jordan, who was maybe the smallest person I've ever seen in my entire life. She was about this tall. She was like a fairy. She was like a real-life pixie. This thin. They don't have sizes of coveralls for tiny little petite American girls over there. So you can imagine this poor girl, and they're extra small, and her sleeves are poking about 5 inches outside, and she would just, do this troll impression, or she would just sort of flop around in these poor coveralls. But anyway, so we had to wear this equipment during rehearsal. We would go into the stage, which again, everything is brand new on this ship. No one's ever touched it. There's still plastic on the floor. It smells like paint. If I can remember, because we were so high on the fumes. It was insane. And so we would have to rehearse in these conditions in order to stay safe. So now, the best thing about it was that being the first people on the ship, we had the opportunity to test things out. So we would try out the spa for free, and we would try out the really nice restaurants for free, just in case get out the food poisoning while we were there because we were expendable. Not the guests. So the very first thing, if anyone's ever heard of this, is called a shakedown cruise. And it was our very, very, very first cruise. And it was like a trial cruise. And we would have invited people come on. Luckily, I was able to swindle my husband on and spend the 10 nights there from Venice to Istanbul. And so we got to do this shakedown cruise and test everything out before the real paying guests came on. One of my favorite things to do once we finally got the ship out on the water, there's nothing else quite like just floating along and seeing nothing. It's a little terrifying and also very calming at the same time. So it's one of my favorite things to do. I'd rather be sailing, yes I would, on an open sea. I'd stand at the railing if I could, feeling wild and free. The sun is on my neck, the wind is in my face, the water is incredibly blue, and I'd rather be sailing. Yes, I'd wanna go sailing and come home to you. Sex is good, but I'd rather be sailing. Food is nice, but I'd rather be sailing. People are swell, but I'd rather be sailing over the horizon. And I'd rather be sailing, yes I would, on an open sea. I'd stand there inhaling if I could, feeling wild and free. The sun is on my neck, the wind is in my face, the sea is incredibly blue, and I'd rather be sailing. Yes, I'd wanna go sailing and come home to you. I'd rather be sailing. Yes, I'd wanna go sailing and come home to you. You have to sing that song. It's a gift. Thank you very much. Pardon me, I figured it was more important to have my music memorized than what I'm going to talk about. So the first stretch of our adventure on the ship was in the Mediterranean. And this is around March, April, May of 2015. So, of course, we get to visit all of these incredible, incredible places. Who's been to the Mediterranean? Who's been to... There we go. Okay, yeah. Highly recommend it, personally. But we visited, of course, Italy, Greece, Croatia, Spain, Turkey. If I have to, I'm a little embarrassed to admit, but we visited a country that I did not know existed until we visited, which was Slovenia. And I got to go into a castle, which was built in a cave, and travel 13 miles in a cave on this tiny little train. Just the most incredible experiences, like, the history over there is absolutely wonderful. However, there was a wonderful day where our cast hopped on a train from Rouen, France, to go to Paris. And first time seeing the Eiffel Tower was pretty incredible. And got to see Notre Dame, of course. And actually at Notre Dame there was a bread festival happening. And of course you have to have bread in France. And so we were just walking around with giant baguettes, just eating them like beef jerky. It was what you did in France, or so I've been told. So I was lucky enough to be able to sing some songs on my second contract with Viking by one of the most famous French singer-songwriters, Miss Edith Piaf. I absolutely love her. Now, I'm going to sing probably one of her most famous songs. However, I am also not only going to sing it, but I am going to accompany myself as well. So just a moment. Sometimes I play the flute too. I thought that love was Sorry, what? But there's no lipstick.
I couldn't tell.
Oh, jeez. You can't rely on this man. Well, it's around the world in acapella. Love you, Gary.
Love you too. Hey, Heather.
Hey, Gary.
You might want to remind them that it's okay to get up and...
Well, maybe they're just having a good time.
I know, but I just don't want to...
Yes, or if you just don't know and you just want to have a better time, the bar is there for you. I might need the bar. I am so... you know, you always watch like comedy specials or whatever, and they always talk about how dry their mouth. I'm like, no, it's not. It's true. And I'm finding this out right now. Anyway, so thanks Mom and Dad for the flute lessons when I was a child, before I knew I wanted to sing. Who knew? It would help. So, France, Spain, all of these wonderful, wonderful places. I have to say that out of all of the crew members on our ship, we were the absolute luckiest. And I'm sure for those of you who have been on a cruise, you see how hard those crew members work. They work before the sun is up, and they are working way after you've gone to bed. It is remarkable that their work ethic, and they always have a smile on their face. So it was a big lesson in humility for us, because you did not want to get on a crew elevator next to someone, a room steward, for example, and we're going, oh, I only slept until 11 today. I don't want to do my show for 1 hour. I'm tired. Because you would get the nastiest look. And you did, and they were just absolutely incredible. So I would find opportunities whenever I could to find one of those hardworking crew members and say, I see that you are unable to get off in this port today. What can I fetch for you? Do you want a magnet? Do you want a candy bar? Most of the time they just wanted like potato chips. They just wanted something that the ship couldn't provide. So that I just wanted to give a shout out to all those people. If you ever get to go back on a cruise, they work so hard. So just make sure to thank them next time, because I have never seen anyone work harder. But they also party hard. I will vouch for that. I have seen crew members dragging their other crew members to get back to their room, and then they are up within 4 hours to make you breakfast. So the really neat thing about this particular ship and our cast were the shows that were created. We actually put on full-scale productions. A lot of ships just kind of do like the smaller intimate ships, because Viking really only had about 930 guests. It's a very small intimate ship for some of the bigger ocean liners. But we put on some really cool shows, and I just want to talk about them really quick. We had a really neat show called La Peregrina, and it was sort of a mix between Austin Powers and James Bond and Get Smart. So it was very much a spy-type musical. We took music that already existed and placed it into this really exciting plot. And really, really fun technology. I actually got to fly. I was on a harness, and we had a screen that made it look like I leapt off the Eiffel Tower and looked like I flew. So that was an experience. And another show we got to do was called Songscape, which was an operatic style adventure. So it was all different types of opera. So traditional opera, rock opera, Queen. We got some Queen fans? I love Queen. I'm not singing any Queen, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to build that up and then let you down. However, there was a song in this show, Songscape. I got to sing Summertime, which was really cool. However, there was a way more fun song I personally liked, that I did not get to sing. It was not my character. But guess what? I get to sing it tonight because I can.
Spring love comes upon
cardio. Now, I'm gonna sit. I got this bench. I'm gonna sit in it. So once we were done in the Mediterranean, we sailed upward to the Baltics. Germany, Russia, Finland, Estonia, and Sweden, of course. Where? Denmark, sorry. Can't forget Denmark. They had the Little Mermaid statue, yeah? Which we wanted, her head got cut off many times, and they had to put it back on. However, I just have to say my absolute favorite place now in the entire world is Norway. Has anyone been to Norway? Got some Norways? It's otherworldly. If you've been to Alaska, it's very similar. It's got incredible fjords and waterfalls and snow-capped mountains. It's just amazing. I must be Norwegian and I don't know it, because I just felt home there. It was just absolutely beautiful. So that's my plug for Norway. I highly recommend it. Now our first ship, actually was it both ships? No, it was the first ship. We christened the Viking Star in Bergen, Norway. And it happened to be on their Constitution Day, which is like our 4th of July. So everyone is out dressed in like traditional Norwegian garb. I think it's called bunas, I believe is what it was called. You know, this wonderful, wonderful dresses. And we had a whole fireworks display. It was just absolutely incredible. The second time I worked on the ship, I got to go to Scotland. Do you like Scotland? Are you Scottish? You are! I love it! We got to visit Edinburgh and Lerwick and Shetland Islands. I think that's the same. Shetland, yeah. Saw the ponies. They're vicious creatures, by the way. Don't let their size fool you. They're aggressive. So, one of the shows that I got to do on the second ship was a brand new show called Les Artistes de Paris. And it was one of the most difficult shows I've ever learned because most of it was not in English. And nothing is harder than trying to learn a language you don't know and then trying to sing it and trying to perform it. And you can't fake your way through a foreign song. If you forget the words, you're done. So this is me saying, don't forget your words right now. And since I love Edith Piaf so much, I wanted to sing another Edith Piaf song, but this time in her native language. Le ciel bleu se meut pour s'effondrer et la terre peut bien s'écouler. Oh, mais peux-tu, si tu m'aimes, je me fous du monde entier. Tant que l'amour inondera mes matins, tant que mon corps frémit sous tes lèvres, combien peux-tu les problèmes, mon amour, puisque tu m'aimes. J'irai jusqu'à bout du monde, je me ferai tirer dans le monde, si tu me le demandais. J'irai décrocher la lune, j'irai voler la fortune, si tu me le demandais. J'irai lire ma patrie, j'irai lire à mes amis, si tu me le demandais. En bien privé du moi, je ferai n'importe quoi, si tu me le time to say goodbye by Andrea Bocelli. And it is not. And I learned this on the ship as well. It is not about going away. It is not about leaving. It is in fact translated to, with you I will go. So it is actually about a tune of traveling the world with somebody you love and sailing on a ship and traveling to new places you've never been before and having these wonderful experiences. So most people tend to sing this song at the end of a cabaret or at the end of a concert or a piece when that's not necessarily true. I mean, it still works, but it does not mean time to say goodbye. So to right this wrong, this is not the end of my act one. It's the second to last, but it is a beautiful piece, and so I'm going to sing Conte Partiro.
Quando sono solo sogno l'orizzonte mancan di parole. Sì, lo so che non c'è luce in una stanza quando manca il sole. Se non ci sei tu con me, sulle finestre mostra a tutti il mio cuore che hai acceso, chiudi dentro me la luce che hai incontrato per strada. Con te partirò, paesi che non ho mai veduto e vissuto con te. Adesso sì mi vivrò con te. Partirò su navi per mari che non lo so, non esistono più. Con te io vivrò. Quando sei lontano sogno l'orizzonte mancan di parole. E io sì lo so che sei con me, con me. Tu mia luna, tu sei con me. Mio sole, tu sei qui con me, con me, con me, con me. Con te partirò, paesi che non ho mai veduto e vissuto con te. Adesso sì mi vivrò con te. Partirò su navi per mari che non lo so, non esistono più. Con te io vivrò, con te partirò su navi per mari che non lo so, non esistono più. Con te io vivrò, con te
Wow, I'm going to take you everywhere I go. Yeah, absolutely. I want a cheering crowd anywhere I go. Order McDonald's. Woo! Washed my to ask, and the ushers will pick them up during intermission. So everything had been absolutely incredible on the ship at this point. Like I said, we got to try the spa for free, we got to have crew parties, I get paid to sing and wake up in a new country every day. Absolutely incredible. And it was very funny because people on the ship would ask me sometimes, so what's your dream job? I'm living it. I get to wake up and see France and Italy and Spain and just immerse myself in these phenomenal cultures. It's, there's no better life-changing thing, I think, than traveling. I personally think, and I'm so lucky because somebody my age, it's not always easy, and it was easy for me because it was my job. But I love my job, and I work very hard at it, so it just was the most wonderful, wonderful blessing. So everything was just fantastic, and I couldn't really ask for anything more at this point. Once upon a time, I had plenty of nothing, which was fine with me because I had rhythm, music, love, the sun, the stars, and the moon above, and the clear blue sky, and the deep blue sea. That was when the best things in life were free. Then time went by, and now I got plenty, which is fine with me because I still got love, I still got rhythm. But look at what I've got to go with on. Who could ask for anything more? I hear you query. Who could ask for anything more? Well, let me tell you, dearie. Got my diamonds, got my yacht, got a guy I adore. I'm so happy with what I've got. I want more. Count your blessings, 1, 2, 3. I just hate keeping score. Any number is fine with me, as long as it's more. As long as it's more. I'm no mathematician. All I know is addition. I find counting a bore. Keep the numbers mounting, we were just counting. Come on, Gary. I've got rhythm, music too, just as much as before. Got my guy and my sky of blue. Now, however, I own the view. Something's better than nothing true, but nothing's better than more. Nothing's better than more. One is fun, why not two? And if you like two, might as well have four. And if you like four, why not a few? Why not a few more? If you like a little, why not a lot? I'd have been a little, get to be an oodle. Every drop and tittle adds to the pot, so you'll have the kit as well as the caboodle. More. Never say when, never stop at plenty. If it's gonna rain, let it pour. Happy with 10, happier with 20. If you like a penny, wouldn't you like many much more? Or does that sound too greedy? That's not greed, no indeed. That's just stocking the store. You gotta fill your cupboard, remember Mother Hubbard. More. Each possession you possess helps your spirits to soar. That's what's soothing about excess. Never settle for something less. Something's better than nothing, yes, but nothing's better than more. Except all. Except once you have it all, you may find all else Now again, the bar is open, bathroom's open, you got 15 minutes. If you can think of a question, write it down. The ushers will come pick it up, and they'll see you all in 15. Thanks for coming! You came back. I came back. I wasn't sure I was gonna. I'm just kidding. But I will say, and this is honest truth, my hand has never hurt more in my entire life. I was like a claw because I was holding the mic like this for so long. I went off stage and I went, ow! What is wrong with me? Okay. So thank you to all of you who submitted questions. I had a look at them, nothing was too inappropriate, so thanks for that.
I have one.
Oh, Carrie has a question.
Somebody gave me this.
Oh, just now? Okay.
Yeah.
What is it?
And I'm not sure if it was for me or for you.
Uh-oh.
Because it says, no question, you're amazing. That's it.
Don't clap, that's just Taylor. I'm just kidding. Taylor, by the way, not only was in Wondrous with me, but was on the ship with me as well. I know! She doesn't know it yet, but I'm just kidding, I'm not bringing you up on stage. But she'd be ready, don't let her fool you. She would be, she totally would. So I looked at some of your questions, and it's funny because some of them are things that I want to answer. So you were one step ahead of me, and I love it. Now, I have to be honest. I wasn't being totally honest with you in the first act that everything was amazing on the ship. I'm sorry if I made you believe that, because it's not true. There is something about staying on a ship for 7.5 months in a tiny cabin with another person. We called it what did we call it? The metal prison, metal floating prison sometimes. Tin can, the floating tin can, that's what we call it. So yeah, I'm a pretty flexible person, and for the most part I was okay with just about everything, but it's not always smooth sailing, if you know what I mean. That was a terrible joke, sorry. We were lucky because we got to actually eat up on the World Cafe, which is where the guests got to eat, but not all the time. And I gotta say that the crew mess food, if anyone's ever been in the Navy or anything like that, it's not the best. You know, it's enough to keep you full if you eat that much, but I don't think you ever would get that far with it. So, okay, I just want to take a couple questions. I got my fishbowl, so thanks to those. And I don't know if I'll be able to get to all of them, but I'm excited.
Fishbowl.
That was a reach. Okay. Love you, Gary.
You know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, where's Posey? Who's Posey? Hi, Posey! I think I actually just answered your questions. Did I have to share a cabin? Yes. Not every cruise line singers typically actually get their own cabins on most cruise lines. Viking wasn't quite up to date with the standards that singers require. Usually they get their own cabin. That was not the case. I shared with another person. I'm trying to see if I could do an accurate representation of the size. I know. Here's the size of our shower. That was the size of our shower. It was basically human-sized triangle. And so shaving was very difficult. My roommate, however, was the dancer, so she didn't have a problem. Actually, my roommates Well, two of them were fantastic. I didn't have such a great roommate the second time around, so I switched. That's okay. I don't talk to her anyway. She's not from here, so it's fine. Okay, so that answered Cozy's questions. How long the contracts were. My first contract was 6.5 months. Never went home. Second contract was 7.5 months. Never went home. Very long time. You'd count down the days after a while. Even though the points were wonderful, you just wanted to get out of that tiny room. Willie Ames was in fact a cruise director on Viking, for whoever asked that. No, I knew that he was, but I actually didn't work on that ship, so sorry. My other friends who worked, for those of you who know who Willie Ames is, he was cruise director on our Viking ships, but it was after I had finished. Nancy, if you could sing a duet with someone, who would it be and why? Well, I could answer the obvious question. I would sing with my husband. Someone's a fan of my husband. That's Craig. Hi, Craig.
Hi.
Love you.
Love you.
In fact, him and I have sang before. We met doing a production of Oklahoma. I know, it was cute. He was Curly, I was Lori. I know, it's gross. Did you volunteer for non-entertainment duties aboard the ship and excursions, or were you assigned? Yes and no. We did have some non-performing duties. Very simple things, again, compared to what everyone else had to do. We had to stand and look pretty and say, hello, welcome to the theater. Enjoy this enrichment lecture. We also sometimes would play sports. You've got shuffleboard, you've got bocce ball, which we found out, by the way, you shouldn't put guest cabins underneath the bocce ball playing field. True story. We got a lot of complaints. So we kind of shelved bocce ball. But however, the cool thing was, yes, we got to go on excursions. If we had free time, we would sign up and go see the same things that the guests got to see. And because of our wonderful schedule, we were able to get up in the morning, we would don our red Viking shirt, and we would go out with the guests and go see Statue of David, go see the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. I went and saw the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and I went and just Rome I got to see. I didn't see the Pope. I got to see the Colosseum. So what is it? Thank you. Sistine Chapel, St. Peter's Basilica, all that good stuff. One more before I sing a song. Oh, I know. Okay. Here's another question that I wanted to ask. If the interactions with the guests were always positive. No. And I hope none of you are here today, because I'm going to talk about a few of them. Wasn't you? If you were with Willie Ames, then you're good. There's a couple of people on the cruise ship. You just have to give names to things sometimes. And my first one was 50-Day Cruise Lady. There were guests on our ship that could cruise for 50 days because we barely repeated ports. So you could go on the ship for 50 days and see just about a new city every single time. However, Viking has moved on from that and they do 143-day cruises. I know, it's too much. It's like 4 months or something. You might as well work there, you know. So 50-day cruise lady. This is about 5 days into her 50-day cruise. And I am standing outside the theater, welcoming guests. Welcome to the enrichment lecture. Welcome, welcome, yes. Hello, welcome. And we're a little behind, about 5 minutes late. 50-day cruise lady comes, stomping over. She goes, do you want to tell me why we haven't started yet? I just sing songs. I just sing pretty and say hi. But I said, no, I will go find out for you. She's like, okay, it's 5 minutes late. I'm like, you got 45 more days on you, ma'am. You're not drinking enough. So I go and this woman who's about to give a lecture is just standing oh so patiently on the side. I said, hi, we just are we ready to start? And she goes, well, the cruise director is going to introduce me. I said, oh, okay. Okay, so that's why, okay. So I think I have a good answer for 50-Day Cruise Lady. I did not have the right answer. I went over back to 50-Day Cruise Lady and I said, well, the woman is ready. We want our cruise director, Paul Reynolds, to come introduce her. So you're telling me that the cruise director can't show up on time? I just sing songs. So that wasn't the right answer. And I'm just thinking, man, wow. I mean, there's a skit on Saturday Night Live with this travel planner that said, if you go across the ocean and you're already miserable, Italy's not going to make it better. Needless to say, I kind of avoided 50-Day Cruise Lady, so anytime I saw her, I would just kind of shuffle away because I knew I didn't have the right answer. Okay, so moving on from 50-Day Cruise Lady. I also have a guy called the Juilliard Man. One of the songs I sang in Act 1, I'd Rather Be Sailing, was the song I would sing all the time, of course, on the ship because sailing. And it's one of my favorite songs to sing. And after we would sing, we would go around and talk to the guests and just schmooze. Say, how's it going? What do you, we were the only American crew members, by the way, on board. So, and a lot of the passengers were American. So we were sort of like a nice liaison, like a level playing ground, for any kind of language barriers or whatnot. So we would go around and talk to people. We found a lovely couple, and my roommate got to talk to the wife, and I got to talk to Juilliard Man. And I said, did you just go see our show in the theater? We just did some songs. And he goes, yeah, I heard you sing, and it was good. It wasn't great. Okay. I don't know how to respond to that. He goes, yeah, it was good. It wasn't great. Do you take voice lessons? No. I just work as this for a living. But I've given one voice lesson. So then he proceeds to tell me that he has wonderful ears and he knows when things sound off. So I was good, but not great. And then he said, well, you know what would be good is Juilliard. I'm like, sir, I'm 30 years old. And Juilliard, if I'm good but not great, Juilliard ain't gonna want me either. I'll tell you that right now, because Mr. Great Ears, I don't know if he was the casting for I don't know, but that was his answer for me to get better. I don't think he realized this was my job. So he was recommending I go back to college, but not just any college, Juilliard. I have friends that went to Juilliard, by the way, and they have wonderful careers, and good for them, I guess. Also, one more before I sing my next song. I had one called Angry Scotland Woman. It's not you. No, it's not you. Okay. Just making sure. No, she wasn't Scottish. It was simply that we were sailing into Scotland, and that was one of the occasions where some of the local people had to come in and stamp your passports before you could actually set foot onto Scotland territory. So we had the guys come on the ship, and everyone had to file into the theater and get their stamp, and the line was a little bit longer than typical, and because people were following directions and they didn't come at the right time. So we're just there doing crowd control, saying, sorry guys, the line's a little bit longer today, but it is kind of ever-flowing. And Angry Scotland lady was there, and she was like, what are these people doing here? They're in line to get their passport stamped, ma'am. Yeah, but can you make sure that they're supposed to be here right now? Is this their time? Okay, first of all, we're floating in the middle of the water, so it's not like there's anywhere else to go. Can't get off the ship and go sunbathe on Scotland, And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to go to every single person. Says, is this your time, sir? Are you here at 11:44? Is this your stamp time? Is this your stamp time? I'm not going to do that. And so I just kind of drift away from her. And the line is, again, slowly moving, and I'm trying to crowd control. And I said, yeah, I'm sorry for the wait, everybody. The line is a little bit longer, but it is slowly moving. And she looks at me, planted to the ground, and goes, I'm not moving. No, you are not. And if you don't move, people are going to pass you. And then you're going to be really upset with me. So I think sometimes I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and this is a moment I was not proud of, because she said that, and I didn't know how to respond. So I literally just looked at her and I went, I did this and then I moved on. I was like, ooh, that was a bad choice. Time to avoid angry Scotland lady. Anyway, so most of the guests were wonderful, but these people kind of stick with you, and it sort of inspired me to sing this next song. Travel, they say, improves the mind, an irritating platitude, which frankly Audrey knew is very far from true. Personally, I've yet to find that longitude and latitude can educate the scores of monumental bores who travel in troops and herds and groups and various breeds and sexes to the whole world reels with shouts and squeals and the clicking of Rolexes. Why do the wrong people travel, travel, travel when the right people stay back home? What compels them, I tell you, and who the hell tells them to drag their bags to Zanzibar instead of sitting quietly in Omaha? The Taj Mahal and the Grand Canal and the sunny French Riviera would be less oppressed if the Middle West would settle for somewhere rather nearer. Please do not think that I criticize or cavil at a genuine urge to wrong. But why, oh why do the wrong people travel when the right people stay back home and mind their business when the right people stay back home with television when the right people stay back home? I'm merely asking why the right people stay back home. Just when you think romance is ripe, it rather sharply dawns on you that each sweet serenade is for the tourist trade. Any attractive native type who resolutely fawns on you will give as his address American Express. There isn't a rock between Bangkok and the beaches of Hispaniola that does not recoil from suntan oil and the gurgle of Coca-Cola. Why do the wrong people travel, travel, travel when the right people stay back home? What explains this mass mania to leave Pennsylvania and clap around like flocks of geese, demanding dry martinis on the Isles of Greece? In the smallest street where the gourmets meet, they invariably fetch up. And it's hard to make them accept a steak that isn't served rare and smeared with ketchup. What is it, Gary? Thank you. It would take years to unravel, ravel, ravel every impulse that makes them wrong. Thanks for letting me get that out. It's like therapy. All right. In their defense, most of the guests were actually quite wonderful. So I'm going to take a few more questions. Ralph says, where did I perform in Maine? I did a summer stop in Arundel, which was just outside of Kennebunkport. Beautiful Kennebunkport. Yes. Anybody from Maine? Are you from Kennebunkport? Or no? Where?
That's Ralph.
Hi. Oh, hi, Ralph. Sorry. Gotta get me off the stage. Susan says, where is your next performance? Oh. And are you going to Kansas City? No, I'm not going back to Kansas City anytime soon. Do you want the truth or do you want me to lie? The truth? Where do you think I'm going with this, Gary?
We don't have enough Kleenex. Oh, I don't know. Go for it.
I'm gonna pretend that didn't happen. Okay.
You know I'm kidding.
My next gig, I'm working at the Spirit Halloween store. That is the life of an actor in all its truest forms. I've been going to a lot of auditions. This is true talk right now. I've been going to a lot of auditions lately and nothing has turned out. And that's just the way it is. That's the business, baby. So I'm just finding something a little in between. I'm going to get my Halloween on for a couple of months. Unless someone up here knows a gig. Anyone, please? Just kidding. When are you cruising again? When and are you performing next? We already answered that. I'm performing as a ghost. Sorry. Okay, so I'm cruising again, not as an actor or a singer, but me and my husband are going to Hawaii. We're going next May. Even though I've cruised as a performer, him and I love to cruise more than anything. So we've been to Alaska, we've been to the Bahamas. Was that it?
Caribbean.
The Caribbean, thank you. But next we're going to Hawaii, and hopefully after that back to Spain, so I can show him all my cool places. My cool places, they're not mine. I just pretend they are. Why did you get off the cruise ship? They kicked me off. I'm just kidding. No. Well, almost. That's just how long our contracts were. And it varies. I will say though, explaining that my contract finishes is hard to explain to the other crew members because the other crew members have it as a full-on career. That is their career. So they will be on the ship for 9 months, 8 months, and then they have their vacation for 2, and then they're reassigned and they come back. And they didn't quite understand that it's different for performers. So I said, I leave in 2 weeks. And they go, oh, when do you come back? I'm like, I don't. Well, then what are you going to do? Other things. I'm going to sing in the villages. They like me here. So I would have to explain that. I said, well, it just is different because actors are always just bopping around to different whatever they can get. Now, if you have a good experience and you work well with your team, then sometimes they will ask you back, which is exactly what happened. I got to go back the second time around. All right, I'm going to take another question and I'm going to see what else I can do. Did I really get along with my fellow Wonderettes? Yes. Yes. At the end of that run, which we got along, but it was interesting. That's all I'm going to say. But we got along wonderfully, and I hope you can tell, for those of you who saw the show, that we all got along well. You should not let a show run that long because I start to steer away from the norm and I start doing whatever I want. It's very dangerous. Okay. Did you get homesick? Yes. Very much so. Being on a ship is a completely different world. I don't know how to explain it. When you're on this ship, it's, cell phone connection is difficult, so it's hard to keep in touch with your friends and your family. And if something is going wrong on the ship, it's sometimes kind of hard to talk to people, and you can feel kind of lonely. So every once in a while, I would like to just sort of sit and find a quiet place to just sort of reflect and just think about what I'm missing back at home, which is hard sometimes. So I started to think, it inspired me to sing this song. We didn't have any serious issues like they did, so sorry, it's not appropriate. What is my spirit animal? I don't know. Guinea pig? I love to eat, and I just like to flop around. Probably a cat, or a unicorn. Does a unicorn count? Because I'm definitely a unicorn. What is the most favorite thing you purchased on your trips? That's a cool question, because souvenirs are really fun, especially authentic things. The thing that comes to mind for me, I think, is in Sweden. We were in Stockholm, and take those around with us. And they have these little mythical creatures called tomtes, and what were their purpose? They like sew your socks or something? I don't know. But they were these little, I wish I had a picture. They were like made of clay, like little red clay. And they had little yarn hats, like little Santa Claus, like pointy hats with a poof on the end. And it was just a little guy with cute little eyes on the face, and I bought like 10 of them. I just line them up, and they're all just, you know, giving you this creepy but adorable stare. So I would probably say tomtes. So the next time I went to Sweden, I went right back to that store. It was like a totally different store. I was like, where are the tomtes? They're like, what is that? I'm like, you're in Sweden. You don't know what tomtes are? Okay. So sadly they didn't have them. So, this is the most appropriate question for the next song I'm going to sing. Have you ever gotten seasick on a cruise? There's a sad face too. Where's Sherry? Did she leave? Sherry?
It was actually,
The fake names you just tuned in for the question. Hi, Sherry. Okay, so a little bit. I got a little seasick maybe twice. Some of my cast members didn't fare quite as well. We did a show one time, the Songscape show I told you about, the opera show. It was actually featured around the dancers. And our male dancer, who is phenomenal, he's actually on the Lion King tour right now. He was so seasick. And he's not a dramatic guy at all. And so he was just laying sprawled out on the floor backstage. And the show's about to start in about 15 minutes. And he's sitting there on the ground going, when I'm here, I feel fine. And then as soon as he would stand up, he was not fine. Which also caused a lot of anxiety for his dance partner. Because you don't want to be tossing her up into the air and the ship goes, woo! And he's also, seeing double. So that was a very interesting show. We literally had to make stuff up on the spot because both of them couldn't make it. They just sort of stumbled off stage and we just kept going. So I didn't really get too seasick. I was able enough to get my really seasick friend to the medical bay. And then I stumbled my way back into my bed and just slept it off. But so that actually leads into a night that we did a show all about ABBA. Who likes ABBA? Oh yeah! We had a highly successful show on the ship about ABBA. And it was just facts about ABBA and ABBA songs, and you just couldn't lose. The audience would come dressed up and they would just, they would go crazy. Unfortunately, one night, we had really rough seas, and we still had to go on, and all of us were wearing like platform heels and shiny things, and the audience, it was one of those where the ship was rough enough that the audience knew, so we all had this understanding of, you're about to see somebody fall, and they were fine with it. So, did you fall on rough seas? So, I'm going to give you a taste of this performance of Voulez-Vous, but in the style of rough seas out in the Baltics. So, please enjoy.
Across the room, your eyes are glowing in the dark.
they thought it was hysterical. Okay, a few more questions. What is my favorite song? Actually, I'm singing it, so I'm not going to tell you. Yes, I answered that. What's your next venue? Spirit Halloween store. Oh, this is a good one. Did I already answer this? No. Being a cruise ship entertainer is no doubt the sweetest gig. Yes. What would you say is number 2? I think I was going to say this later, but I think...
Working with Gary.
Working with Gary. He's all right.
You can really answer that.
The older I get, the sweetest gig is one that I can do at home. Because I'm always traveling and I'm always away from my husband. And we just want a house, and so we want to like make it pretty, but I'm never there. So I'm like, haha, bye! Paint everything! So, we did a gig one time where I was home for like, it was a wonderful gig, 15-week contract, and it was in Sarasota. It was wonderful. Now I love traveling, don't get me wrong, but I also like being home sometimes, so I would say the sweetest thing would be to be home with my husband. Aww. No one started that with me, sorry. Did I go any of these? Okay. I'm afraid to ask this question. What happens if someone dies on a ship? Please don't mind, nobody leave. Okay, so true facts. You wanted to know what it's like working on a cruise ship. So every cruise ship has a medical bay. Every cruise ship also has a morgue. Because things happen. You know? I'm really afraid to do this. But I will say, I learned on cruise ships that when everything is smooth sailing, it's not so much a morgue as it is just a horizontal cooler, freezer for those situations. Someone thinks it's funny. But I learned, actually, that it stores other things when things are going smoothly. It stores frozen foods. So, what? I didn't. This is true. So we did have a situation on the ship, learning this information, and it made me think about this next song. I am so sorry about last night. It was a nightmare in every way, but together you and I will laugh at last night someday. Ice cream, he brought me ice cream, vanilla ice cream, imagine that. Ice cream, and for the first time we were together without a spat. Friendly, he was so friendly, that isn't like him, but even so, will wonders never cease, will wonders never cease. It's been a most peculiar day, will wonders never cease, will wonders never cease. Okay, where was I? I am so sorry about last night, it was a nightmare in every way, but together you and I will have a last night someday. I sat there waiting in that cafe, and never guessing that you were gone, that you weren't here. You were inside, keeping cold. I am so sorry about last night. Last night, I was so nasty. Well, he deserved it. But even so, that George is not like this George. This is a new George that I don't know. Somehow said if there was an ice cream party in the crew mess, then you knew why. I'm just telling it like it is. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. Okay. So somebody was asking me like what my second favorite gig is, and of course every singer, actor thinks about Broadway. That's the dream. That's the goal. Which gives you a lot of tunnel vision, and it doesn't let you open up to a lot of opportunities elsewhere around the world. So I wanted to share a story. I did a show with a woman in Sarasota who then went on to do a Tony Award-winning play up in New York on Broadway. She was with the original cast all the way through to the end. And I got to go visit her after the show, incredible show. And we were hanging out backstage. And of course, I was gushing to her. I was like, this is incredible. You're on Broadway. That's amazing. And she turns to me, this is true, and she said, I'm envious of your job. You get to wake up in a new country every day. I wake up in Long Island. And it just kind of, gave you that perspective to appreciate what's in front of you. And, as you're achieving your goals, don't forget about the amazing things you achieve along the way. Of course, I'd like to do Broadway, but this is also pretty great. I can't do this on Broadway. There's too many of us floating around, so. It just gave me that perspective to appreciate and not to have any regrets about the adventures that I got to do and the experiences I got to have and share with other people. Which made me think about this next song, which unfortunately is not in English, but and it is another Edith Piaf piece. But I think you'll understand the basis of the song. Well, I had the chance to do this amazing, life-changing experience. I actually coined this time in my life as the most amazing time of my life and the worst time of my life. And that is because when you're working on a ship, you think time stops and it doesn't. And the world keeps spinning. And you lose track of what's important. And you lose track of your priorities. And it's hard because, again, you're on the other side of the world and you think you're invincible, and you're not. And it was a very humbling experience because it kind of felt like I was living two different lives, and that doesn't work out very well. So my second to last song I'm going to sing is sort of that realization when you feel kind of small, and this is actually, to answer the question, one of my favorite songs that I'm going to sing, and it's sort of encompasses my reflection of what I went during this period. So, go ahead, Gary. This is my earth, and I live in it. It's 1/3 dirt and 2/3 water, and it rotates and revolves through space at rather an impressive pace. Never even messes up my hair. Here's the really weird thing. The force created by its spin is the force that stops the chaos flooding in. This is my earth, and it's fine. It's where I spend the vast majority of my time. It's not perfect, but it's mine. It's not perfect. This is my house, and I live in it. It's made of cracks and photographs. We bought it from a guy who bought it from a guy who bought it from a guy whose granddad left it to him. And the weirdest thing is that this house has locks to keep the bad guys out, but they're mostly used to lock ourselves in. This is my house, and it's fine. It's where I spend the vast majority of my time. It's not perfect, but it's mine. It's not perfect, but it's mine. This is my body, and I live in it. It's 32 and 3 months old. It's changed a lot since it was new. It's done stuff it wasn't built to do. I often try to fill it up with wine. And the weirdest thing about it is I spend so much time hating it, but it never says a bad word about me. This is my body, and it's fine. It's where I spend the vast majority of my time. It's not perfect, but it's mine. It's not perfect. This is my brain, and I live in it. It's made of love and bad song lyrics. one of my favorite songs. And it's written for a man, so I didn't know how to sing it. I was like, not gonna be like, it's not perfect. It wasn't gonna work. So when I came back on the ship, my 2 contracts, I had the opportunity to sort of reconnect with the world back on land. The hardest thing was being away from my husband. For any of you who've been in the military and you get stationed, my parents, for example, my mom was just with me and my sister for a long period of time while my dad was away, and it's hard. And this was hard too, and it was nice to come back and be with my husband. But the cool thing is that one of our favorite things to do is to travel. And now I have the bug, because once you start, you can't stop. And, we're both artists, so it's not like we're making a lot of money, so we can't travel too far. But we've had the opportunity to go to some really cool places. 2 years, was it 2? Year and a half ago? 2 years ago? We went to Japan, and it was amazing. And now we're saving up to go to Hawaii. So, but traveling is a wonderful way to kind of bring us closer and help me remind what's the most important in life. So my last song for you that I'm leaving with you tonight is a song that sort of embodies that kind of revelation again about what's important to you and what you should hold close. So thank you for coming.